Welcome to Books Mandala's YouTube channel, where we talk about books and everything related to books. So, in today's video, I will be giving a non-spoilery review of the book The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. So, House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune is a fantasy standalone, and if you're an avid fantasy reader, you know how rare fantasy standalones are. They're basically like unicorns of literature. It is so rare that once you see a fantasy standalone that is getting all the hype, you want to hop on the hype train because you wouldn't want to miss out on a gem. The House in the Cerulean Sea picks up really quickly. So The House in the Cerulean Sea follows our main character, who is a 40-year-old man named Linus Baker. And now you might be thinking, what, a 40-year-old man? You really get to see characters that old in fantasy. And that is absolutely true. We usually get to see characters that are in their adolescence period or in their mid-20s or something like that, but unlike those characters, in The House in the Cerulean Sea, our main character is a 40-year-old queer man, and he basically works for this thing called Department in Charge of Magical Youths. In this world, there are children and adults alike with magical powers. Like, some have teleportation powers and some have unique flying abilities. Some can basically shapeshift into a dog or a cat, and unique powers like that. And the department in charge of magical youths basically make sure that these youths with supernatural abilities are kept under control, and that they are provided with housing if they're small. So children who have magical abilities, they are kept in orphanages surrounding with other children who have magical abilities. And our main character, Linus Baker, is in charge of seeing if these orphanages are running well. So he basically goes to orphanages and checks if the children are getting proper food, shelter, and stuff like that, and if the master of the orphanage, the warden, is doing their work properly or not. So one day Linus is assigned with a very, very peculiar task. So one day Linus is summoned by the extremely upper management of the department in charge of magical youths and is given a very strange task. He basically has to go to this orphanage and see if that orphanage is doing well. But there is obviously a twist. The children that this orphanage houses are the most dangerous and most unique children the magical youth committee have ever seen, so including the Antichrist. So the Son of Lucifer is one of the children in this household, and the Son of Lucifer is basically named Lucy. And when going through papers initially, Linus is basically thinking to himself how unique Lucy is a name for a 6-year-old male child, but he later finds out that Lucy is given the nickname Lucy because he is the son of Lucifer. So Linus is assigned with this secretive task. He's not supposed to tell about this task to anyone, but lucky for Linus, because he basically lives alone with a cat, and so Linus takes his cat, hops in the train, and goes to the house in the Cerulean Sea. So he is frightened for his life because these children, mind you, are the most dangerous of the peculiar children. So he reaches this island, and there he meets all these children, and the children have unique abilities. Like, one of them can shapeshift into a dog, the other one is basically a miniature statue, and one of them is a wyvern, and along the lines. And there's obviously Lucifer. And according to people, Lucy would supposedly bring on mass destruction in the world. And in this orphanage, he meets Arthur, who is basically a very enigmatic person. He is very charming and whatnot, and he is very protective towards his wards. Linnaeus meets them, Linnaeus meets the children, and he's still frightened for his life because these children are obviously considered very dangerous by the society, and they live in this particular island, and the island spirit, Miss Chapelwood, is very loving towards these children as well. The children do not leave the island at all. They do everything in this island. He basically later has to choose between his duty and his dreams. So to find out what happens next, you should read this book. It is such an amazing book, and it is so lighthearted. It will make you happy cry, sad cry, everything along the line.